Spur 1.
Interview.
We are fucking proud to have one of the greatest stars in the most current dubstep scene over here, out in New Zealand. One of the truth guys is here. Tristan, hello.
Hi.
Nice to have you here. Finally, you made it. Why did you choose the name Truth?
There's no such thing as truth. I mean, basically, what everyone's told, by the media, by politicians, by scientists, by religion, it's all bullshit. I mean, it's not all bullshit, but how do you know what's true? And I think who defines truth? And I think what it comes down to is each individual person has to define their own version of what truth and lies actually is. And so I guess the whole thing with truth is that we're really into that sort of looking at the world and seeing how fucked up the place is, and the idea that there is something called truth, it's a lie in itself. So it's kind of ironic, I guess. But I mean, that's one theory. I mean, there's but as I said, take your own meaning from it. I mean, listen to our music. It's usually quite sinister and kind of dark. So I mean, it's got that edge to it, and that's what we're all about.
Nice. You just kind of answered my second question. How would you kind of describe what you're actually doing?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we started off being very influenced by film soundtracks and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, we were really into heavily sampling that kind of stuff as well. And so we tried to make stuff that was cinematic in terms of it, maybe epic or whatever, but at the same time it works on a dance floor at a club. And so I guess our aim anyway to start with was to make every tune something that's interesting to listen to. At the same time, it works on a dance floor, but you can listen to it in your headphones on the way to work. But that's what our goal is, or was. I mean, it still is. Having said that, I mean, I feel like our style, it's not. People tell us we have a particular sound, which I hope refers to kind of the aesthetics rather than each track sounds the same, And I think a lot of our tracks are quite varied, but with an overall kind of an overarching theme to them. And right now we've been going through a phase it's a bit more minimal, a bit more sub-heavy, even maybe more atmospheric. But then once you have it on a real sound system, that the movement of the bass is what moves the people, and the whole thing is we create a bit of space, and that space, we want people to move into that space and feel like they're being pushed and pulled. So,
are there any kind of really truth-like production skills? Are you kind of more into how to produce your sound, or is it more the idea in the sound that kind of defines your, as you said, the aesthetics?
I think we've never tried to create a formula in terms of how we approach a track, but also I think we've now produced so much music together that there are certain habits that you naturally fall into without even realizing it, and I think there's definitely a workflow that we've developed. But having said that, I mean, I don't think that we try and approach every track differently, and we try and make them sound different to each other, obviously. So yeah, hopefully. But yes, I mean, often we'll start with a drum beat, for example, just to get the rhythmical backbone going. I mean, it may not even stay, and we might change it, but I find that's a good start.
How do you actually split the work between you and Ray?
Well, that's one thing that varies a lot. I mean, pretty much every track we both, have made together in some form. Our favourite ones universally are the ones that we've been together when we started them. I mean, almost without fail. There's a few that, one of us will start and then the other one will finish. But I mean, usually we try and get in the studio together, come up with the ideas, and I mean, maybe that's in terms of if you're looking for a kind of a formula or a structure for how we do things. We'll sit down together and we'll, work hard to create the musical ideas first. Right, the important things, which often, I mean, if it's going to be a good track, later down the track, from experience, the ones that we like most are the ones that come together quickly. You know, you come up with an idea, then it's like, bam, let's do this, let's do that. Oh, that sounds good. And with some exceptions, obviously, but then maybe that track might get left for a few weeks, and then one of us will take it and mold it into a full track. We might just come up with like the skeleton, the rough bass line, some melody changes, percussion, the drums, you know, and a rough layout, you know, a breakdown, an intro, but not polished, like rough, you know, and then come back to it a few weeks later with fresh ears, and then go, oh, it needs this, it needs that. And so I mean, but the core elements of the track, you know, we try to get those down as quickly as we possibly can, and not trying to sacrifice quality, just trying to do it so that the ideas keep flowing and we get more inspiration, I guess.
Where do you actually get your inspiration from? What kind of music are you listening when you're not in the studio? What kind of influences are there?
Right. Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, yeah. I'm totally minimalist. No. Well, honestly, I mean, there's inspiration everywhere. I mean, and it might not just be music. You know, it could be being. The other day, I was on the train from. I went to this contact night that Youngster threw last week. I was on the Stansted Express going to the airport. I had a flight at 7:30 in the morning and started a track there, and it's like got its own vibe, you know. But it was like I listened back and I'm like, yeah, I like the kind of the atmosphere of it, because you know I made it having been to this epic party, and then I'm like on this horrible train, you know, like so that was inspiration, you know. I mean, and I was like, I just gotta make a track. So I mean, and obviously I'll send that to Andre because he's not here. I became friends through that, and eventually we started running a night together, a drum and bass night. Still in Christchurch, yeah. Which actually evolved to become a really a great night. I mean, we ran it for I think 7 years together, and we probably did about 200 something shows, you know.
Mainly drum bass driven?
Mainly, but also other styles of music too. We did a few hip hop shows. We did some other stuff as well.
And some early dubstep as well.
Yeah, you know, towards the end, and then at the time when we sort of got into dubstep, that was when we were kind of wrapping that up. We were starting to wrap it up at least. So I've completely forgotten what I was talking about now. Oh, how we met. Yeah, well that was, and then to make music together, it was probably like at least a year later after we started this company, and we were still making our own music, that we started actually doing stuff together. People just started calling us the name of the night. We called the night Urban Notion, and Notion, like thoughts, you know. And we didn't call ourselves that, but other people started calling us that, and so we just thought, well, we'll start making music under that name. It was never a name really we thought of as for an artist. It was only ever a night, but it just ended up being, and yeah, that's how we got in the studio together. Yeah, it's like exactly, it just kind of happened. We were actually always looking for a different name for a long time, but never found one. And then the day that we first made a dubstep track, and you know, didn't even really like think of it as dubstep. We just thought like, Marla had given us a CD of music, and we were like, let's like try and make something around the same tempo that's our kind of style. And we just thought of the name Truth the same day, and it was like, it was kind of fate, I guess. It's worked out.
Nice story, man. Sounds epic as well.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. Okay, when did you actually move to the US?
We've been in the US, I think maybe 15 months, 14 months. Yeah, just under a year. Over a year, I mean. Yeah, I mean, we've toured there quite a bit before that, and there was a period for about 3 months before that we lived in Portland, but then we together, yep, and then we moved back to New Zealand for a few months, and then moved back to the States again, so where we've been since then. So yeah, it's been just over a year.
But Ray moved to San Francisco, I guess, and you moved to Denver, you said.
Well, we both moved to San Francisco together first, yeah, and we started a night there. It's called Deep, Dark and Dangerous, just only dedicated to deep, dark and dangerous music. Dangerous being the wild card. You can pretty much play whatever you want, but it's all, I mean, mostly minimal kind of heavy stuff, and which is actually a really good night. It's a Tuesday night, and So we deliberately chose that night because it means the people that go to the night, they really want to hear that kind of music, and it's grown and now it's really good.
Right.
But yeah, after I guess 10 months of being there, I shifted to Denver, which has got it's got a really good bass music scene there.
Alright.
And I'm more into like slightly more space. Like, you know, Andre is definitely like an inner city kind of a guy. He likes to have all the shit happening around him, like all the restaurants or like the parties, and I'm into that too. But I like also having a little bit more space. So for the same amount of money, I could have like a 3 times bigger house, you know.
So you're going to conquer the world from Denver, and he's going to do the same shit out of San Francisco.
Like that, yeah. Denver also is right in the very, very center of the States, so it's a lot closer to like New York and the whole East Coast, and then the West Coast. You know, there's not a lot in the middle. I mean, there is a lot in the middle. Sorry, not to offend anyone, but you know, there's like a big concentration on both coasts, so kind of bounce between them.
And you never thought about moving to the UK with this kind of really heavy scene, loads of colleagues, gifted producers, your labels as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, we did, of course. Yeah, of course we thought about it. Well, we just decided that, you know,
Both of you again?
yeah, both of us together. We decided that, you know, why take the path everyone else has, you know, followed? Let's like make our own path, do something different. I mean, we're already from New Zealand, so that's a bit different anyway. But we just figured that, you know, the scene in the UK especially is very well established, and people there with our friends, you know, and so it's great visiting. We're always welcome, but going to the States was like, you know, breaking new territory in some ways. I mean, it's got a big scene, but not so much the sound that we were making. So that was the reason.
How did you get in touch with all the label guys? Did they kind of contacted you and kind of asking and begging you, hey, come on guys, sign this fucking contract?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
Sure.
No, I mean, the way we actually, as I sort of maybe alluded to before, we were doing these drum and bass nights, and we were, you know, friends with a lot of people. And one of our friends was touring around New Zealand with Mala, and they ended up going to Andre's house and just chilling out for a day. He had a gap between gigs. It was a Tuesday, I think, and so they ended up talking about music. You know, Dre played him some of our stuff. Mala played Dre some of his things. You know, he was about to launch, I think, the first Deep MIDI record, so Kalawanji by Chromestar. So he gave us a CD of the first, like, I guess, like 10 tracks on Deep MIDI, and we were the next day meeting up to get in the studio. And so the next day he's like, I met this guy yesterday, Mala. I mean, you know, we really didn't know who he was. I mean, we were just like, he's like, yeah, he's super chill, super cool guy. He's doing dubstep, which we'd heard of, obviously, but we were like, never really exposed to it properly. And then he put the CD on and listened to it, and we were just like, man, this is sick shit. And we were also like, we could probably make something like this, you know, like it'll be fun. So we just thought, fuck it, you know, like let's just take a day off and like start making some like more, you know, 140-ish. I mean, we didn't know what tempo it was. I think the first like 5 or 6 tracks were like 145 or one. They were different. They all different. And yeah, we made the Fat Man, and we made Stolen Children. We made 3 or 4 other tracks in like 3 days. And it was just like, this is awesome. We had all these sounds that we couldn't use in drum and bass. They just didn't work with the tracks we were making. The element of space with the slowed down tempo meant that we could use like more cool atmospheric sounds, and like it was just a bit more freedom. But also we were like, let's deliberately try and keep it simple. Let's just try and make this like
Strip it down,
keep it simple, and keep it about the vibes.
Yeah.
And so then the following Saturday, Mala came back for his gig in Christchurch. So we burnt him a CD of, I think, the five tracks that we liked, and Andre went to the gig. I didn't even go to the gig. I think I might have been out of town, I'm not sure, but he gave him the CD, and he said he almost didn't give it to him. He was just like, this is stupid, I'm not going to give it. But why would I, you know, like, he's not gonna like this, you know. Like we just made it. Like he's just, and yeah, but he, I think the next day or a few days later, Mela rang and he was like, yeah man, I love the tunes. Like, you know, I'm gonna cut them, start playing them, and all of a sudden we see like YouTube videos of him like opening a set with the Fat Man and closing a set with Stolen Children. We're like, yes, this is awesome. I can't believe it. And I think, yeah, a few days, maybe a few weeks later, he rang to say, yeah, I want to release them on Deep Medi. And to be honest, we really didn't know like the respect that Deep Medi had until people started just contacting us and being like, you know, they're saying stuff about it, and we were like, oh, actually, it's a really good label, and we're just lucky to kind of stumble upon it, I guess, in some ways. But then we took the opportunity and made the music, and we were like, okay, cool, well, we really enjoyed that. And pretty much that was the last time we ever made a drum and bass track.
Are there any kind of tricks or tips or advice you could give to the listeners when it comes to production and music, no matter if it's dubstep or something else?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could give some like kind of more technical advice, or I mean, I think the key is, you know, first of all, try and learn some of the rules. I mean, but
What are the rules?
well, yeah, I think one of the things that's good, it's good to do, but not to rely on, is to A/B reference. So, you know, listen to one track that you know has sounded good in a club. You've heard it. Okay, that sounds good. I know what that sounds like on my speakers. It doesn't matter what speakers they are, as long as you know what that should sound like. Then you get your track that you're making, and you listen to your track and you say, well, how is that mix differing? You know, what are the highs doing? What's the bass doing? Is the kick there? You know, whatever it might be. But the only caution I'd say is like, don't start off being like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this tune and then I'm gonna clone it, because like that's unoriginal and no one's even gonna listen. I mean, maybe that you might get some people liking it, but it's not gonna be fulfilling, you know. But I think the real key is, I mean, once you've figured out, it's important to figure out what the room you use to make music sounds like. And you know, if you know how a track should sound just because you're in that room all the time, then that's great. And maybe that means don't listen to bad quality MP3s on those speakers, you know, because that's going to distort your vision of how it should sound. Having said that, I mean, there's definitely a variation, and there can be a lot of leeway, and I believe anyway, in how a mixdown can sound. And I don't think that's not the holy grail. It's not like, okay, the tune has to sound amazingly produced. It should sound amazingly produced, but that's not the key. The key is making something that's original, that's your own, you know. And I think that's the hardest part for like a lot of people, is that they want to make something that's their own sound, but that's difficult. And especially if at the same time you're doing that and trying to be creative and musical, you're also focusing on learning the production side. It becomes, you know, I think it's a hard balance. But I think the biggest asset is patience. You know, if you just keep doing it, the more you do, the better you're going to get. You're never going to get worse. And yeah, I mean, you know, send stuff out for feedback, you know, but don't expect, obviously don't expect someone to always get back to you. And play it to your friends, but I mean, don't always believe them if they say they love it. I mean, that's the other thing. Our friends would always say, oh, that's your track, blah, 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 it's amazing. And then I knew inside that I wasn't happy with it, you know, back when we were first starting. But, you know, it's easy to be like, oh, yeah, cool, it is good. And that's, and I'm not saying, you know what I'm trying to say. It's important to try and like be happy with yourself as well. Definitely. But I think, yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you know, just to try and be original, and but also to have fun. I mean, like, if you're not having fun, then what's the point, you know? And if you're having fun, then that's almost an end in itself.
People gonna feel they want fun,
right?
And they gonna hear they want fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and the whole, the feeling is, you know, is important, I think. Hey, this is Truth, and you're tuned into Spor 1 Music.
Schnitt.